As we told you was likely to happen, the FBI is no longer satisfied with just the NBA. The giant sports gambling scandal is now making its way into baseball, the MLB already making changes, but all of this could derail Disney's efforts to integrate betting straight into ESPN and your viewing of the sports games. Today we'll tell you why it's changing the game for Disney and its stock, and why shareholders are not happy with Iger. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Yet again, another video of excellence and analysis you will find nowhere else. Today, we're diving into what's going down with sports gambling and a Disney company that is betting everything on it. Even as the feds are waging a war, the FBI finding more and more corruption everywhere they look. Click the like button. Folks, let's hit it right now. Boy, oh boy, do we have a story for you, ladies and gentlemen. The MLB is now in with the NBA when it comes to federal investigations. Here's what we've got out of Victory Girls blog. And you say, well, Pro, why are you on Victory Girls blog? What the heck is that? They don't want to talk about this. The mainstream, lamestream, going extinct dinosaur media, they don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. They don't want to go here, okay? They don't want to tell you what's coming near, but real quick, we'll come back to the article. Let me show you that this is where you got to go to find this stuff. McGill's. We'll go with McGill's. This ESPN news story brought to you by our partners at DraftKings. Jeff Passan says, breaking. Cleveland Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz have been indicted by prosecutors in Brooklyn on a host of charges related to a scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown in Major League Baseball games, okay? Going back to the article on Victory Girls blog, here's what we've got. It says, and now it is Major League Baseball's turn to have a gambling scandal, as two Major League Baseball pitchers are now under indictment. The story broke back in July, when two pitchers for the Cleveland Guardians were both accused of being involved in rigging pitches during games in order to win gambling bets. Now, this goes into that, what do we call these prop bets, guys, where you have these micro bets, where it's not based on the game, it's about some aspect of the game. Is that what they call them, prop bets?
Yes, 100%. You are.
Okay. So this is the prop. Well, how did you know that so quickly? Been playing a little prop betification there, culture?
I used to occasionally place wagers here and there back in the day.
He's dabbled.
He takes bets on how many times they're going to say Marxism during the pro show.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's at least once so far.
It's why he's so prejudiced against Italians.
So here's the quote we've got from the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. It says, earlier today at the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, an indictment was unsealed charging two defendants, Emmanuel Clase de la Cruz and Luis Leandro Ortiz Rivera, with wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy to influence sporting contests by bribery, and money laundering conspiracy for their alleged roles in a scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown during Major League Baseball games. All right, panel, here's the deal, and we can dive into this more in just a minute, but I think we've got plenty on our plate to cover here. The NBA is facing major issues. Stephen A. Smith just about lost his mind over it. You've got ESPN now tripling down on betting, going to DraftKings. The idea is that Disney wants to have the NFL fantasy sports. They want to have the NFL gambling stuff, the NBA gambling stuff, WNBA. You can bet on whether or not Caitlin Clark survives another game. They want to have all that injected straight into the ESPN app. Large parts of this have to be approved by the feds. It's a huge part of what Bob Iger has presented to shareholders as a reason that you want to be with Disney. All this needs to get approved next year in 2026. And at the same time, now everything is collapsing as league after league after league gets yanked into this thing. Some say that class action lawsuits could be soon forthcoming from people who feel like, hey, the game was rigged against me. You ran this thing. This is a huge problem. Guys, what do you think about this as this now metastasizes, just as we predicted, into the other sports leagues?
They're just trying to make baseball interesting. It's unfortunately it's not going to work, and it's going to go on for way too long, just like every baseball game.
You did not enjoy the World Series? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
growing up in my house is just nothing but baseball. There's a bigger picture of Lou Gehrig on my parents' wall than there is of me. So I've about had my fill.
Had his fill of it. Had his fill. Okay, well, here, folks, if you'd like some more of it, here is the response from Major League Baseball as well as the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians have released this statement. Some of you know it as the Cleveland Indians. Yeah, they changed a few years ago. We are aware of the recent law enforcement action. The Guardians statement reads, "We will continue to fully cooperate with both law enforcement and Major League Baseball as their investigations continue." Major League Baseball also released a statement following Sunday's news. Major League Baseball contacted federal law enforcement at the outset of its investigation and has fully cooperated throughout the process. We are aware of the indictment and today's arrest, and our investigation is ongoing. Jonas, you and I have talked about this before. Wherever there is gambling at the scale that we're facing with sports right now, which is something that's come to pass because of a Supreme Court decision, and then a lack of any kind of legislative or regulatory actions from the government beyond that, it is all hands on deck. Bet, 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 bet. As soon as somebody turns 18, get in there on their apps and make sure they're betting on this stuff. When you do this, corruption is sure to follow, Jonas, and this is what we're seeing. And it stands to perhaps level a bunch of these leagues in a way that I don't think they ever saw coming, especially not just a few years ago.
Right. I mean, it just goes to on any level. Once you involve money, it changes the nature of what it is. It changes the nature of things that are done on the field. If it changes the nature of how people present themselves when they play the game. It changes the incentive to cheat, which I think ends up being bigger than whether or not you play the game well. I don't want to say that there's no instance in which money should be paid to players. That's obviously, if anyone is paid, the players need to be paid. They just need to have a situation where people can go in and know that they're not going to end up getting in over their heads here if the game doesn't go a certain way. What's the joke from Sergeant Bilko is I like to know the outcome of a sporting event before I go into it. It's more organized that way. I get why people want to put a little money on the Cubbies in order to get a little extra money for basically not earning it. But once you tell someone that their entire life could be changed on the outcome of a baseball game or the outcome of an NBA game, things get real nasty real quick.
Now, Disney, the play, real quick culture, the play here for Disney is, and this is going to come up in the next few days with Disney and their earnings call and all that. The play for Disney is, of course, that they offered the NFL the chance to have 10% of ESPN. Yeah. In exchange, they get the fantasy sports leagues from the NFL. They want to get all the gambling stuff integrated into this. And the idea would be that Disney and ESPN and the NFL are tied together in some official way. And at the same time, Disney is also operating a gambling system using DraftKings, which gets into all kinds of issues of, okay, wait a minute, you're both the provider of the sport and you're the bookie for the betting on the sport. How does that, there's no division anymore. Culture, Bob Iger wants the feds to approve it. I'm starting to think this could be a source of dread for the C-suite at Disney.
I think you're thinking the right way because, I mean, the conflicts of interest are, there's a myriad of them. Yet first, let's start with the idea that they were with Penn Entertainment before. And Disney was really very unsuccessful with Penn's efforts. They only basically had about 3% of the market share. So if we take a look at that as opposed to DraftKings, which is, enormous with a giant chunk of market share, they made it even more complicated because at the same time, as we've been talking about this scandal, so was Disney. So there's another conflict of interest. They're running their ESPN bet advertising across the top of this NBA scandal, now expanding to baseball, and it certainly involves the NFL, which just hasn't broken yet. So we're starting to see those conflicts of interest, including with the new partnership with DraftKings Pro, and it just keeps going downhill from there. But there's no regulatory path forward when you're in bed with the number one or occasionally number two, which is DraftKings. They seem to alternate places with the other big player there, FanDuel. But as you look at that, you're going, okay, the level of corruption here that'll get all the way through the entire system and indirectly into sports involvement itself, especially with the NFL. I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. They have major complications in front of them regulatory wise. And you know what? I don't want the NFL owning any part of ESPN or vice versa. I do not want that to happen for 1,000 reasons. Mostly because right now the news we get out of sports, especially ESPN, is quite garbage. It will be further polluted by having a partnership, where the NFL will be, the information will completely be compromised because it'll always skew towards whatever benefits Disney and ESPN and the league that they're in partnership.
Have you guys noticed that there's basically no oxygen from the mainstream? Like they covered for a day or two the NBA thing, where you've got NBA coaches, you've got players being arrested, being indicted. You've got tales of the mafia. I know Marvin says it doesn't exist, but you've got, this is a huge thing. And after about 2 days of coverage, zip, it went silent. Now we've got a second league that has been brought into this. Silence, crickets. Almost nobody wants to touch this, yet the leagues are taking it very seriously. We'll get to that in a minute. But guys, what do you think about the idea that it just went, totally under the table all of a sudden?
I think that a few very strongly worded messages might have been sent to some of these networks. Right. You know what I mean?
I don't know what the value is on sports betting nationally and what it would be if you could integrate it straight into ESPN and put it on people's TVs as they're watching. But I bet it's in the billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I think you're right, Marvin. I think somebody said, put the red light on this. We're not talking about it.
But let's introduce the idea that this deal before it got changed to DraftKings was quite valuable to Penn Entertainment. You're looking at them paying $150 million annually to get their name as part of this deal over a decade that they were supposed to be in partnership, which only lasted 2 years. And then they switch over to DraftKings. As I said, a lot of that had to do with the lack of market penetration at only 3%. But when you look at what the market penetration is for something like DraftKings and FanDuel, they went with like the number one, betting service out there that does this already. So they partnered up with the best. And I don't know what the long-term ramifications are, but I do know that is a built-in, conflict of interest. It just is. And look, if you were supposed to be the number one sports news network and everything else that they try to claim, and now you're in cahoots with the machine, you don't think a lot of people are going to be looking for like all the cheat sheets that come out of the inside information that ESPN anchors are getting and all the other things? You don't think that scrutiny is going to be placed on everybody who works for ESPN going forward?
Right, and ESPN's running shows where they're analyzing how you should bet, and they're the ones who are going to be the bookies, apparently. So it's all kinds of messy. And the prop bets, the idea that a little indicator can come up on your TV, on your smart TV or on your phone or your tablet, on your computer, and it could you could wager a prop bet on what the next pitch is going to be. It's going to be a fastball, a curveball, change up. Like, this is where you get into crazy amounts of spending and people with serious issues run afoul. Now, Disney's got to get a lot of this approved by the federal government, and that's why you're seeing changes happening. Again, you're not going to see this. This is like buried on CNN deeply. Like, you got to know exactly what you're searching for, but they are having to cover the fact that even if they won't mention what it's about, they're willing to cover that the leagues are making changes. And that tells you there's something that they're worried about. David Close, Kevin Dotson have this out of CNN Sports. MLB announces new gambling safeguards after 2 Guardians were indicted in betting scandal. So if we scroll down here, it says a day after 2 Major League Baseball pitchers were indicted for allegedly participating in a scheme to rig bets on MLB games, the league announced it has worked with partner sports books to limit prop bets on pitches thrown. This is what I'm talking about. Folks, when I told you a week or two ago that the prop bets, I call them micro bets, this idea that they can stick it straight on your phone or your TV and you can place a bet on something so silly and frivolous as, what will the next pitch be? Will it be on the inside or the outside of the plate? And they can do this in every sport. You can bet on whether they make the next free throw.
Golf.
You can every sport possible. And MLB is taking steps right now. If it was just 2 pitchers, I want everybody to listen closely to this, okay? Because it's easy to think, well, it's an NBA coach and an NBA player and a couple pitchers in baseball. They would not be making these changes if it was 2 isolated pitchers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just have to say also, pitches, I don't know a ton about baseball, but I do know that the coach who has communication with whoever during that game is able to tell the pitcher what pitch is going to be pitched. So this is the kind of thing where it just seems like, okay, well, I'm going to put a massive bet onto XYZ. They have no control over who's going to do that prop bet. And anyone can exert, anyone that has access to that coach is going to be able to sway what happens during the course of the game. When money enters into it, it clouds people's judgment. I had a client once that was trying to get into coaching YouTubers, and he was offered a equity deal in working with an influencer, and he was all excited to do it. Looked great, and then he said, "By the way, the influencer is 16 years old." And whoa, hold on here. And the kid was all for it. He wanted to be a big star. I think he might actually be big on social media now. I'm not going to say the name of the kid, but I told the guy, okay, so in this case, you have an equity arrangement. You're working on spec, and you will have to have, in some cases, your business interests will not necessarily be in the best interests of this influencer who is 16 years old. So your profit incentive runs afoul of the safety of this kid. And that puts him in a really tight spot. So let's say this coach should be interested in what is best for his team, and the leagues can never compete with the amount of money that can enter into this game through gambling unless the leagues are then participating in it. And I think we all see the conflicts of interest that come there. The leagues can never compete in paying their players for the influence that gambling can have on the game. And so this becomes something that is automatically corrupt. And that makes me even less interested in sports than I already am.
Ron, the way this works too, we're going to enter into the world of theory right now because I don't want people to believe that this is what happened to Ortiz or some of these others, Clase, or Chauncey Billups. But just in the world of theory, this is the way the game works. Not the sports game, the betting game. The mob or the mafia or the gangs, they get these players who are very young, very impressionable. They get them at parties, they get them to come to gatherings, and they get them into compromising positions. Then down the road, they say, we got a lot of money invested in some enterprises, and it sure would be a shame if some of this stuff that happened came out. Sure would be a shame, wouldn't it? Why don't you throw a ball instead of a strike when we tell you to? And then they place massive bets on, something that's ludicrously unlikely to happen. The player makes it happen in a micro bet, and boom, money gets made. That's the way the game is played, and that's why this is so dangerous. The Supreme Court in 2018 removed some of these barriers to gambling, but what should have happened is legislatures and regulatory entities should have come in and put a stop to some of this because it's craziness. Ron, your thoughts?
It just seems to me like this diminishes basically all sports where this is taking place. When I was a kid growing up, we would go to the stadium regularly to see the Cardinals play. Actually sang the national anthem at a Cardinals game, Cardinals Dodgers one time. So it's not as part of a group, not by myself, but the sports pastime, when it is enjoyed for the entertainment value, the fun, all of that is great. But I understand they're probably picking up audience that likes the sports betting. But wouldn't they also be losing a number of viewers and perhaps advertising revenue along the way if everybody knows that the games are fixed ahead of time? Why would anybody want to watch them, whether it's on a micro level with one play at a time or whether it's the whole thing? It just doesn't make any sense to me. There's part of my mind went to Disney and the fact that they own Marvel, and maybe they're struggling so much that they're trying to create their next Daredevil character who actually came from a sports betting proposition.
Ron, we're going to have to tune into wrestling to get fair sports again.
It's crazy.
And the other thing about this, Ron, too, is you're exactly right. What does it do to sports when people no longer believe that the outcome is authentic? But the other thing is, what does it do to Disney, who are now in bed with all this, and they've made their company value based on the idea they're going to get this through with the NFL next year? What does it do to Disney as a family company when all of this is suddenly becoming associated with the House of Mouse. You buy your Mickey Mouse diapers, you go up through your Pixar, you make it all the way to Disney, whatever, and then you hit 18. Hey kids, Mickey'd like to sell you some gambling ideas. Come on in, Mickey.
Let's see if the Giants cover the spread this week, huh?
That's right.
Well,
Exactly.
what about all the sporting camps that they hold, the competitions at Disney, at ESPN on Walt Disney World property? There's sports competitions. They host Major League Baseball preseason. They host a number of soccer camps for kids. It diminishes all of that if you have Disney playing both sides of the corner of we're going to set up the sports, we're going to allow bidding for the sports. It's first of all, it's a super conflict of interest. I don't see how they can do it legally, but second of all, it just diminishes the whole proposition of sports in general. And how can you have any integrity as a company saying, "Hey, come to Disney so that your kid can learn how to play soccer or baseball or do a cheerleading competition or dance competition in one of these things"? Well, at the same time, you're saying, well, maybe while they're down here, we might have a couple people that are going to influence those kids on the certain sports decisions they make in the future while they're playing. That's icky. That's just not good ground.
Let me tell Junior what he needs to do in the next sports game with me, please.
That's what's going on here. And, it would not surprise me if in the next few years, whether it's on a Disney yacht or maybe it's in a back lot at the Walt Disney World Resort, they're going to have some betting lounges, maybe. Maybe that's what's coming up, sports betting lounges, and maybe Minnie will bring you a beer while you do it.
Well,
Told you, Minnie, get in there and serve it. Let's go. Get them some Schlitz.
It'd be a real shame if I had to send the polar bears from Zootopia to your house to collect.
20
the Beacon Barrel and a few bucks.
Culture, tell us about Donald showing up with the brass knuckles.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. But here's the thing. This kind of sports betting is legal in 26 states. There are multiple states that even allow for a little bit of casino-style gambling on these apps like DraftKings and FanDuel and other places. It's not like this is going to go away overnight, but it needs to be exposed as a bad idea tied to a media company like Disney, who actually can change the odds on bets. That's the other thing, the way the reporting is done. See, I could go on for days and days with all the conflict of interest that are here, but let me just put it this way. DraftKings in 2024 increased their portion of revenue by 30% up to $4.7 billion.
Say that last number again, Culture.
$4.7 billion.
Because, people listen to us, and we're not trying to be prudes, and we're not trying to be your moral arbiters.
No.
But what you need to understand is what we're saying. If you want to put, if you and your buddies want to say we'll put down $5 together, and bet on the World Series, whatever, that's none of our business. We don't care.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't. Maybe that's fun. I don't care. You guys do what you want to do, and maybe I'll do it too. But when it's a corporation like Disney, and when their company value is dependent on now this idea of $4.7 billion in revenues, guess what they got to do? They got to show their shareholders they're growing it. And how do you grow sports gambling revenues? You get it into what we would call the whales, right? The people who are most addicted to it, and you get it in there in insidious ways, where as they're watching the game, jingle sound pops up, dopamine hit. Will you take the hit? Will you make the bet? Folks, that's where we are.
And it comes with a free lightning lane, so you don't know.
Right. Do you want your 18-year-old to spend all their college money on that, folks? No. You might not, but Disney may. Disney just may. And folks, we have come to the end yet again. Another video of excellence in the can. What a joy it has been to share time with you. We hope you enjoyed it as well. If so, consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. And as always, drop a comment down below. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. Join a community dialogue today, just on down below. Folks, we are going to say farewell for now, but we will see you back. 4 is more, and that's how many videos we put out every single day here on the Pro Channel. Hope you enjoy them all. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Jump into the water. Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.